dear colleagues, it is a great honor to me to present in this great conference. I am Samir Morkus Rafla, Emeritus Professor of Cardiology, Alexandria University, Egypt. The talk is about update on management of atrial fibrillation after cardiac surgery. This is one of the references, European Society of Cardiology guidelines for the diagnosis and the management of atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation after cardiac surgery is the most common post-operative complication following cardiac surgical procedures and occurs in 25% after isolated coronary artery bypass grafting, 30% after isolated valvular procedures, 40 to 50% following the combination of CABG and valvular operations. Notably, the incidence of atrial fibrillation after cardiac surgery has remained largely unchanged despite the significant improvement in cardiac surgical procedures. The purpose of this presentation is to show the cause, prevention, and management of this subject. The primary objective of post-operative atrial fibrillation management are to maintain hemodynamic stability, control symptoms, prevent thromboembolic complications. The antiarrhythmic strategy showed a tendency to reduce the time to sinus rhythm reversion. There was also reduced length of hospital stay. So antiarrhythmic strategy is beneficial. The control of ventricular response during atrial fibrillation can be performed with various drugs, including distalis, beta blockers, calcium channel blockers. The option of electric cardioversion for rhythm control should be used only in hemodynamically unstable cases. Beta blocking action is particularly effective for heart rate control in the post-operative period. Anticoagulation strategies for the management of post-operative atrial fibrillation with respect to prevention of thromboembolic phenomena. Post-operative atrial fibrillation is associated with higher risk of stroke ranging from 2% to 18% that emphasizes the use of therapeutic anticoagulation. The American College of Chest Physicians recommended the use of anticoagulation particularly for high-risk patients such as those with history of stroke or transient ischemic attacks. The merit of anticoagulation in post-operative patients after cardiac surgery should be carefully weighed against the increased risk of bleeding. This may even exceed the benefit of reducing thromboembolism. Preventing perioperative atrial fibrillation by continue if the patient is having elevated risk or the patient is having normal risk. If he is having elevated risk, continue beta blockers to avoid withdrawal. Prophylactic amiodarone is useful. Combination of amiodarone and beta blockers are more beneficial. In normal risk, continue beta blockers and administer beta blocking if he was not on beta blockers. The risk factors for development of atrial fibrillation after surgery: age more than 75, history of atrial fibrillation, renal failure, mitral valve surgery or disease, heart failure, and COPD. Treating perioperative atrial fibrillation in cardiac surgical patients, non-dihydropyridine calcium channel blockers, verapamil, altiazine, electrical or chemical cardioversion, 2-ampoule intravenous amiodarone can revert sinus atrial fibrillation to sinus rhythm. Amiodarone for rhythm control. Consider anticoagulation when atrial fibrillation duration is more than 48 hours. Other therapies: Sutalol, class 1, post-operative class 2B, post-operative corticosteroids class 2B, intra or biatrial pacing class 2B, post-operative colchicine class 2B. The green is class 1, yellow is class 2B, 2A, and the orange class 2B. Pathophysiology: patients' factors, cardiac surgical factors, and endogenous, exogenous, and post-operative factors may predispose to patients to atrial fibrillation. Patients requiring cardiac surgery surgery frequently have pre-existing risk factors for atrial dilatation, including hypertension, myocardial ischemia, valvular abnormalities, such as mitral incompetence. Perioperative direct surgical trauma associated with atriotomy incisions and pericardial disruption may also contribute to local inflammation and subsequent alteration in atrial electrical excitability. Large fluid shifts perioperatively and electrolyte disturbances may also be contributory. In the post-operative period, the patient may be exposed to a number of pro-arrhythmic factors, including increased endogenous catecholamines, inflammatory and oxidative mediators, secondary to surgical stress, and the systemic response to cardiopulmonary bypass, and use of exogenous catecholamines for inotropic support, and variations in both intraventricular volume status and systemic blood pressure, leading to changes in atrial stretch and myocardial perfusion, respectively. All these are the mechanisms of atrial fibrillation. Risk factors, again, different series have reported a number of risk factors for development of atrial fibrillation, including prior history of atrial fibrillation, obesity, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, chronic renal failure, rheumatic heart disease, and male gender, as well as echocardiographic predictors such as abnormal left ventricular systolic and diastolic function, left ventricular hypertrophy, and increased left atrial volume, and this is very important factor, the left atrial volume. The most consistent independent risk factor across multiple studies has been increased patient age. Strategies to prevent atrial fibrillation after cardiac surgery: magnesium supplementation, potassium supplementation, beta-adrenergic blocking, amiodarone, sotalol, digoxin, colchicine, atrial pacing. All these are strategies to prevent. Strategies for treatment: rate control by beta blockers, non-hydropyridine calcium channel blockers as verapamil and diltiazem, digoxin, amiodarone, rhythm control, electrical cardioversion, and anticoagulation for cardioversion. Prior to cardioversion of atrial fibrillation, if it is more than 48 hours or of unknown duration, transesophageal echo should be done to exclude intracardiac thrombi, or cardioversion should be taken after 3 weeks of full anticoagulation. So if the atrial fibrillation is recent, you can just give heparin and cardivert. If it is after 48 hours, you must give either anticoagulation for 3 weeks or transesophageal echo. Therapeutic guidelines for postoperative atrial fibrillation. In the presence of hemodynamic instability, electrical cardioversion is class 1 indication. Oral anticoagulation may be considered in patients at risk of stroke, taking into account the risk and benefit in relation to bleeding. Antiarrhythmic drugs may be considered for symptomatic patients in an attempt to obtain sinus rhythm. Prophylactic measures for postoperative atrial fibrillation may be adequately treated by ventricular response control or cardiac rhythm control. Before surgery, you can give beta blockers and amiodarone. Both together will prevent atrial fibrillation in good percentage. Recommendations for postoperative atrial fibrillation: perioperative amiodarone or beta blocker therapy is recommended for prevention. Long-term oral anticoagulant therapy to prevent thromboembolic should be considered in patients at risk of stroke after surgery, of course. I do not mean before surgery, after surgery, considering the anticipated net clinical benefit of oral anticoagulation therapy and informed patient consent. Long-term oral anticoagulation therapy to prevent thromboembolic events may be considered in patients with risk of stroke and with postoperative atrial fibrillation after cardiac surgery, considering the anticipated clinical benefit. Beta blockers should not be used routinely for the prevention of postoperative atrial fibrillation in patients undergoing non-cardiac surgery. This slide is unique in stating that cardiac surgery is different from non-cardiac surgery. Cardiac surgery, you have to give beta blockers, but in non-cardiac surgery, beta blockers are not recommended, class 3. Management of postoperative atrial fibrillation. Preoperatively, optimum hemodynamics, correct electrolyte balance, identify patients at risk, pharmacologic, consider giving beta blockers, and also amiodarone can, in addition. If drug prophylaxis is contraindicated, The perioperative posterior pericardotomy and bilateral pacing is to avoid the perioperative posterior pericardiotomy and to use bilateral pacing. Emergency cardioversion if the patient is hemodynamically unstable, but if stable, you can use rate control, risk control by amiodarone and beta blockers. Prevention of post-operative atrial fibrillation by beta blockers, propranolol, carvedilol, used in cardiac and non-cardiac surgery is associated with reduced incidence of post-operative atrial fibrillation, but not major adverse events such as death or stroke. Notably, in non-cardiac surgery, perioperative metoprolol was associated with increased risk of death in a large randomized controlled trials. In a meta-analysis, amiodarone or beta blockers were equally effective in reducing post-operative atrial fibrillation, but the combination was better than beta blockers alone. Again, this slide is important that it shows that combination of beta blockers and amiodarone are more effective in lowering the incidence of post-operative atrial fibrillation. Prevention of post-operative atrial fibrillation. In meta-analysis, amiodarone and beta blockers were equally effective in reducing post-operative atrial fibrillation. Anticoagulation. With respect to prevention of thromboembolic phenomena, post-operative atrial fibrillation is associated with a higher risk of stroke ranging from 2 to 15%, and that emphasizes the use of therapeutic anticoagulation. We mentioned this. In conclusion, this is the last slide. The latest current literature indicates that a frequency control strategy is as effective as rhythm control. Therefore, frequency control would be the therapy of choice. Post-perioperative amiodarone or beta blocker is recommended class 1. Beta blockers should not be used routinely in prevention of post-operative atrial fibrillation in patients undergoing non-cardiac surgery. And these are some references. And thank you. The lecture is put on the internet on my YouTube channel under my name, Samir Rafla. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel and put like. Also, it is put in Facebook site group. It's called the Dr. Samir Rafla Lectures. All my lectures, I put it, and I thank you for listening.